Hello and welcome to this presentation where I am going to present you the core exams for the Epso pre-selection tests both for administrators and assistants. We're going to go through abstract reasoning, numerical and verbal reasoning tests, see the structure and scoring of each test, and go together through a couple of examples. Let's start with the abstract reasoning test, or also known as the diagrammatic reasoning test. The aim of this test is to assess one candidate's intuition when faced with new situations without relying on previous knowledge. This exercise consists of 10 questions, which you'll have to solve in 10 minutes. The most important tip I want to share with you right from the start is the time allotted for this exercise is rather scarce, so you'll have to be really fast to complete the exercise in 10 minutes. If you're stuck on one exercise, just put an answer you would consider correct, mark it for review, and quickly move on to the next item. It could happen that you'll randomly get a difficult exercise in the beginning, and by struggling with it, you won't have time to solve the next ones, which could be easier. Okay, moving on. This test is taken in your first selected language, meaning that if you select French as your mother tongue and English as the second language, you'll take this test in French. The actual questions during the exam will usually present you with 5 figures, from which you will have to deduct a pattern and then choose one figure from 5 possible answers, which matches or completes this pattern. In order to correctly solve the abstract reasoning tests, you need to understand what arrangements you should search for, as most exercises fall under these categories. Most patterns include clockwise and anticlockwise rotation, mirroring or mirroring combined with rotation, movement of a figure on vertical, horizontal, diagonal, or under different degrees. You could also have one figure moving clockwise, while another moving anticlockwise, or figures with alternating colors white and black. I'll head out now to www.epsotraining.eu to look at 2 examples. I will navigate first to the pricing page and then click on Free Demo. Here you'll find free test examples from different categories. I'll just click on Run Test under the Abstract Reasoning category. In the first example, you'll notice that the gray triangle moves by 3 positions in a clockwise direction. In the 5th and last figure of the upper row, the gray triangle is covered by the black triangle. We would need to look at the figure with the gray triangle positioned here. Since C is the only figure corresponding to this criterion, it is obviously the correct answer. Let's look at another example. In this figure, we can immediately notice that the number of squares decreases by 1, so we would be searching for a figure with 4 squares. This already rules out answers B and E. However, this leaves us with 3 possible answers, so we would need to look for additional clues. We can notice that the small squares alternate colors, black and white, from figure to figure. Therefore, figures A and C do not correspond to this criterion, so the only possible answer is D. Okay, now that I have shown you these 2 examples, it's time to move on to the next pre-selection category, numerical reasoning test, which also comprises of 10 questions which you need to solve in 20 minutes. The test is also in your selected first language and you will be provided with a calculator, but there will also be a software calculator in the exam interface which you could use. I personally suggest using the real live calculator, as clicking with your mouse on the virtual one is more time-consuming. In this test, you will usually be presented with a table or a graph, and then based on it, you will have a question and 5 possible answers. There is only one correct answer. There are several degrees of difficulty in the exercises, differentiated by the required calculations. The easiest numerical reasoning tests require only basic math operations like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, calculating percentages or averages. The questions considered more difficult include a sequence of the operations mentioned before. You will be asked, for example, to calculate an average and then to perform a subtraction. I'll visit again the free tests part from www.epsotraining.eu and run the free numerical reasoning test. The second question, which is a simple one, asks us to calculate Bulgaria's percentage of exports with South Africa attributed to tomatoes. By looking at the table, we see that Bulgaria's exports to South Africa account for 6 million euros, and tomatoes exports represent 35% from this amount. A quick calculation would point us to the correct answer, which is answer A, 2.1 million euros. The last part of this video is dedicated to the verbal reasoning tests, which are comprised of 20 questions in your first language and must be solved in a maximum of 35 minutes. Epso verbal reasoning questions will usually have a paragraph of 7 to 10 lines in length, with a general, science, or EU topic followed by one question asking you to check the correct statement based on the given text. You will need to select the best possible answer from 4 given choices. It could happen that the correct answer does not totally correspond to the information from the text, but the most important sign is that the statement is not in contradiction with the given text. You also need to pay attention to the fact that the correct answer must be deduced only from the information provided in the test and not from your previous experience on the subject or from extrapolating the data provided in the text. I hope you found this presentation useful, and in the end, I would like to wish you good luck with your Epso exams.